Right, so we are live. So welcome back, everybody. So we are at MISA now, spring 2022. This is our first hybrid session since the last time we had an in-person session back in spring 2020, right? So crazy that 2 years has went by since that session. Hey, how are you? So welcome for all of you. Glad you're able to make it. For those of you that are kind of new to MISA or from ISM 2000, I have a that you can post on there, and then you can go ahead and fill that out, and then from there you can be able to sign in for that one, and then you should be pretty good to go on that one. All right. Tonight, the way that the session is kind of going to work is we're going to get a chance to kind of hear from all the student officers, specifically our MISA president. He's going to kind of go over MISA and that whole piece and kind of what we are as a student org. And then after that, we'll switch gears over to our amazing alumni panel. So we have two awesome alums that will be here tonight for the panel. And then we also have some sort of undercover alums that are here in the session as well, that can add as well, that aren't on the panel, but they love MISA, so that's why they're here. So, so with that, welcome, like I said again, and then I'll go ahead and pass it over to our awesome MISA president, Mr. Jonathan Rivas. So if you can give him a good MISA round of applause for that.
What's going on, everybody that's on Zoom? We have a few over here in the class. So, hey, everybody, how's it going? So, almost fell out my chair. That's great. Okay, so let's get this ready and going. So let is.
I can't log in twice because I'm already.
Here the slideshow. Screen. This one, let's share that. There we go. I think it's getting there. Okay, there we go. So this is the, I guess, the introduction to spring 2022. I see a lot of familiar faces, especially in the classroom, but I see a lot of new names as well. So let's start going through this slide. Okay, so what is MISA? So MISA is basically a social network for basically MIS leaders.
Toyota Deerfield Beach, how may I help you today?
Let's go full screen.
Cool. Okay, so anyways, what is MISA? MISA is a huge, I guess, social organization for MIS majors, but more importantly, it is a great way to network. Me especially, I've made so many connections, first of all, with just peers, trying to figure out, what classes to take, what professors to take. I'm staring at people right now that I talk to all the time and wouldn't know about it if I wasn't in MISA. And then more importantly, it's a great way to network with companies. So just this semester, we have Citrix. If you have any inclination about anything IT, a lot of stuff about Citrix and what they do. A lot of people want to think that like car dealerships and manufacturers have nothing to do with IT. But when you think about all the logistics and everything that huge companies such as AutoNation that has to go through, analytics and especially security and all that kind of stuff, it goes very much into an organization like that. We also have Rocket Matter. And then, a lot of people that come in to FAU, they just think, okay, I'm gonna learn books and all that kind of stuff. But one of the most important things that I especially learned from FAU is to be able to talk to people, communicate with people. So we have a session with the Career Center coming in. They'll kind of discuss how important LinkedIn is, how important it is, like I said, networking is, how important it is to have a proper attire, elevator pitch, all that kind of stuff that obviously we'll get more into detail. And luckily this semester, we also have Dr. Moran hosting a session as well. He is the head of the Office of Information Technology of FAU. He's going to come in and talk about that. And then, like I said, we are also here for social gatherings. So we'll probably talk a little bit more in the end about the MISA barbecue that we're having up in a couple weeks, which is a huge way for, I guess, all the students to get together and have a good time. You know, there's food. We have very intense games of volleyball going on, so get ready for that. We have alumni coming in, so you can network with that. And then I think we're still trying to figure out the company tour, so just look out for that in the next couple weeks. And then, like I said, today is where we have a couple of alumni speakers talking about, but let's go on to the next slide. So here's just a closer, more detailed look at the event schedule for this semester. So obviously you see January 20th is where we'll be having so we were having an alumni panel with a couple of alumni. And then next week, if you have been in previous semesters, it's probably like already ingrained in your head, the importance of LinkedIn and networking. Like I said, probably like 100 times already in this meeting, but we're going to discuss again the importance of it. And then on February 3rd, this is going to be a first for this semester. We're actually going to have current students that are in the undergrad program, the grad program, and also a couple of alumni, and just speak on how their current landscape and how they're kind of trying to traverse through their kind of degree path right now, and how MISA has helped them, and how just talking and socially meeting with other students and professors and etc., how it's helped them with the course. And then after that, we have, like I said, the Career Center coming in with Desiree. And then we have Dr. Moran coming to speak. And then we have a tech talk, which is kind of like a more laid back session where we have a speaker come in and kind of talk about a certain topic that is kind of relevant in the world of tech. Last semester, I believe the topic was 5G. So just look out for any updates on what it'll be about. And then we have Citrix, like I said. Then obviously on the 10th, we got spring break. And then if anybody's interested in the accelerator program and thinking about going to grad school, we have a whole session for that. And any questions, obviously reach out to me about that prior if you need. And then we have AutoNation coming in, and then we have the MISA game night. A lot of people are like, how do we usually do that if you're new? But I think last year got pretty competitive with Scriblio, especially with like our intense drawing skills, but we'll get more into that later. And then we got Rock and Matter coming up, and then obviously we have our like annual award ceremony and semester wrap up. So that's pretty much going to be the game plan for this semester. So let's talk about MISA Premium. So obviously all the MISA meetings are free for you to come in. You don't have to pay for that, but there's definitely a lot of perks of becoming a premium member. I know I talked about the company tour a little bit earlier ago. So for the company tour, that's only for premium members because we're actually going to a physical place somewhere else and actually getting a tour. So especially if you're a premium member, I know a lot of people want the drip and the swag when they're graduating. So if you do become a premium member, you get this pretty cool, you know, graduation cord. I think people can see it here. So you get that. And then you also get a pretty cool MISA polo. Kind of looks like this. So you get some swag. And you also get the opportunity of possibly once officer positions come up to become an officer, and it looks pretty good on your resume. So I definitely recommend that. So to become a premium member, it's only $55, and that's for a lifetime membership. So if you go on our website, you'll be able to see and sign up more about it. Definitely, I'm sure some of you may have some more questions about that, but definitely just reach out to me, and I'll definitely answer any questions about that. And we will have a question section in just a second. So if you have any questions, just write it down. I will be more than happy to answer in just a second. Okay, so in these MISA. Okay. So it's important to always have, when companies come in, to have like pretty good questions to ask. And then also, like I said, communicate between students, talk about your classes, talk about any concerns you have. It's what MISA is for. Always come here open-minded. And then there's always job opportunities that MISA is providing through the emails if you sign up for the newsletter. Most importantly, it's all about having fun here. I've made so many friends since I've joined MISA, and it's probably the most important thing I've gotten through this group here. So anyway, you follow us on social. We're obviously doing the live stream right now, and we'll update through these sites. So here's the officers that we currently have. Obviously, I'm Jonathan. Not sure if we have any. Is Carice here? If you want to introduce yourself real quick.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carice. I'm the vice president.
And then we have Tulsi here in the classroom. She's waving, but then our two webmasters and web officer is Pamelina and Paul. You can go on our website, see all the cool stuff they're doing. And then you have Mr. GQ with his picture. Mr. Leo Ferguson's handling the social media. And then you have your co-treasurers, Courtney and Jacob. If any of you are in the chat, you can say what's up. Not.
Hello, everyone.
That's Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Okay.
Oh, Courtney's in the chat.
Greetings.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's go on the next slide. So, if you're interested in getting more involved with MISA or questions about, the MIS major, just reach out to me or Dr. Sweet, and we'll answer those questions. Okay, so you want to skip this for now? Okay, cool. So just want to make sure you guys are listening. So I'm gonna check in the chat, right, and see who's been listening. What company did we tour last semester? I didn't say that, did I? But if anybody's in the chat before, anybody knows what company tour we did last semester? I probably should have said that. My bad. But anyways, the company tour we did last semester was at the Office of Innovation Technology. It was pretty cool. We got to see all the server rooms and all that kind of stuff, and just see how FAU's basically ran. It's pretty awesome, and it's pretty crazy how big of a operation it actually is. So, who do you talk to if you want to become like a manager or officer? I'm not sure. Obviously, yeah, it's kind of like the slide before, so you guys know who you should talk to. You can put it in the chat. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Me, and then me. One more person you could ask. Okay. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Raymond. Okay, so name at least 3 companies with it. I'll let you guys just do one company. Name one company that we have coming this semester, I think. Yeah.
40 companies? Oh.
Anybody? I was on the first slide.
On this semester?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Citrix.
Good tricks, thank you.
David got
In
it.
class participation, that's what we like.
David.
Extra credit for whatever class you're in.
Oh, Nation, yeah, that's from last semester. That's good though.
Oh, that's
Oh, no,
good.
this semester.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
semester. Oh, okay.
Oh, geez.
That was a couple of semesters ago, actually.
Yeah.
It was like it was last semester though. So what is one way to get the most out of MISA? It's kind of just like kind of what I was discussing about how to get ready for the info sessions when companies come in. So if somebody just give me like one way to get the most out of MISA, officers are in the chat can answer that too.
Filling them out, first come, first served.
Yeah, let's just do it. Okay. Get a little bit of background on the companies, that makes sense, yeah. So obviously just do your research if you're interested in a company before they come to talk to us. Make sure you may have a LinkedIn, a resume ready, certain things like that. Just make sure you have a good attitude. You become a premium member, you get a lot more perks, like I discussed, so those are good ones right there.
You can just attend these.
Right, so can somebody name all of the officers? I kind of ran through it a little quick, but if you can name a couple of us, that would be cool. And here's like a cool way to cheat. If you go to the MISA website, you might be able to see that. So you might want to, open up a browser and go on the MISA website. A little hint. Oh, yeah.
At least name one.
At least know my name. Oh, they're Toast. Wow.
Tulsi. Oh,
Wow.
Tulsi.
Wow. Somebody's. You know my name at least. A little hurt right now. It's okay.
Oh, there we go.
Oh.
You got it. There we go.
There we go. Okay. Okay, let's see. Courtney, there we
There
go.
we go. Hey, Courtney.
Yeah, Chet's on it today. Appreciate you, my man.
Oh,
Okay.
even Miss Joseph, look at that.
Wow. See, the ladies are getting the love
Teresa's getting
today.
some professional.
We also have Paul. I don't think we saw Paul. And then we have Emelina too. And then Leo. I'm not sure if he's in here yet either. There we go. I think we got pretty much everybody. Okay, so if anybody has any questions about MISA, now's the time to either put in the chat or you can turn on your mic and ask us, and we're more than happy to answer them. So I'll give you a couple minutes if you have any questions. I'll get to that. Yeah. What's up?
If you're attending.
Didn't attend the session and you were.
Any other questions? Any students have? Any questions? There is no deadline to join MISA. You can join whenever you want. If you're Oh, there's no deadline to join that. If you're like graduating this semester, I would say sign up for it.
Well, sign up usually before the company tours because
Yeah.
it's only for the company tour.
Yeah. So you can join anytime. The only requirement I would say is that you obviously have to pay the $55 lifetime cost. And you can pay that through the website. But like I said, you get a lot of extra perks. You get a polo. When you graduate, you get a graduation cord. And then you obviously could go to company tours. So I guess I would say just probably try signing up before the company tour if you want to go to that. But that's pretty much the only requirements I would say. Other questions in there, Tulsi? Very cool.
Are there, wait, are there?
Now,
are
don't-
them at MISA Premium or just?
Oh, the meetings are obviously free to join, but it's just a premium that you have to pay the $55 for to get the perks, but that's it. I do encourage it. I've definitely got a lot out of getting the premium membership, so.
You get a
$55,
cord.
right?
Yeah, it's
Got
55.
got invited to a cookout, you know. Yeah, there you
So for like the officers, you have to be a current student.
So if you want to become an officer, you obviously have to be a current student.
Official requirements for it.
No, but if you're an alumni and you're still not premium membership, you could you could still join premium whenever. Yeah. Or you're free to join the meetings as well too. Any other questions? Okay.
Probably an accident.
That's fun though. Where that is. Okay, I'll just give it like 30 more seconds, and if not, I'll hand it over. Anybody got any other questions? Just let us know. So, you can also scan this barcode if you haven't signed up for the sign-in sheet. I know some of you are here to get that extra credit, so you could scan this code in too if you haven't already signed in with the sign-in sheet that was posted in the chat. Yeah. Give you about like 10 more seconds. Okay, and I'll let Mr. Sweet take over from here.
Jonathan, can we give Jonathan a nice applause? Not too bad, not too shabby. All righty, so welcome back, everybody. So right now we have our amazing alums that are going to be doing our MISA Alumni Panel. So we have two of them. Let me go ahead and get out of the full screen. We have two of them here. We have some others that are alumni as well that are undercover alumni, and they can chip into if they need to. But I just want to give sort of more of a formal introduction to the two that we have for the panel. So the first we have on there is Raymond Panula. So Raymond, can you give us a little hi and welcome Raymond to the session? And then we have the amazing Katie Huang. So Katie, I think both of you should still be on from earlier, I think, hopefully. Raymond, you still there?
Yes, I am.
And then Katie, you're there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're doing this, this is our first run on the on this hybrid one. So we're trying to flow the best with everything. So pretty much what we'd like to start is if the two of you just want to kind of introduce yourselves, kind of just talk about, who you are, a little bit of quick overview. And then from there, kind of just talk a little bit about like your background, kind of how you got started and your educational journey. And then we can just kind of open it up to the group for Q&A. So I don't know if you want to do ladies first, Katie, or Raymond, if you want to go, whatever, whatever you'd like.
Okay, I could go first. Hi, everybody. My name is Katie, and I graduated FAU last spring with an MIS degree and a concentration in business analytics. And quick overview is I'm a first-gen grad, and I had no tech connections prior to getting my job now. And I kind of just formed them through like networking and LinkedIn. And I now work at this marketing software company in Atlanta as a junior UX UI designer. And what that basically means is I help see, I guess, the problems that are in the product based off of user feedback or competitors having a feature that we do not, and then trying to square our product up with theirs based off of like the direction or whatever. And I work with like product managers, engineers, other designers to refine the intended solution that I have for the problem. And yeah, it pretty much is like that. No day is the same, but constantly trying to, I guess, have a detailed eye on like a specific product or a specific part of the product, and basing like all the decisions on user feedback. So yeah, that's kind of the summary.
Katie? So Raymond, you're up, good sir.
All right. I'm Raymond Penuela. I graduated, I think also the same semester as Katie in spring 2021. And I'm a data analyst at an automotive company. I've been here now for almost 8 years, but I haven't been a data analyst that entire time. I actually got it after I completed my MIS degree. I've had multiple roles here, but as a data analyst, I actually work for, we have a central group for the entire automotive dealer group that we have. I mean, to give you an idea, we have 30 dealerships across coast to coast in the US. And the group I'm with is part of an internal operations team. We handle all the internet sales calls and leads, and we also handle all the service. So if you call service for any sort of appointment, it would go through this team. So we have a team of about 80 people. So it's a pretty large group, but as a data analyst, I work with the sales side, the service side, and I look for, I guess, any sort of way I can provide efficiencies or support for the operation. I do dashboard building. I do vendor relationships, like handling all the relationships with all the vendors, because we do have a lot that we have to make sure that everything is working properly from point A to point B to Z. They don't always work, so it's a lot of chasing to make sure everything is working as intended. I also handle a lot of, I guess my customers from my perspective isn't necessarily on the external side, it's on the internal side. So everything I do is for the department as a whole. And it's a lot of fun. Like Katie, no 2 days are ever the same at any point in time. Like it just isn't. There's always something different to do or to fix or to work on or to kind of dig deeper in. And I just have a lot of fun with it. And I'd love to get more into that aspect, and I will tonight, but as a data analyst, if anyone's going down that path, it is a lot of fun. And that's something I hope that I can bring a lot of excitement for anyone considering going down that path.
That Raymond. That was a pretty good overview for the two of you. I think at least for those that don't know you, the two of you, at least that gave a pretty good introduction, so they got an idea of kind of where you came at. So the only other question I had kind of before we open it up to Q&A would be if each of you kind of just talk briefly, just kind of like about your educational professional journey, because I know both of you have kind of had two different paths, but you know, similar in some ways, but different in others. So if each of you can kind of just talk a little bit about kind of how you started school, like how it went with your classes, and then how it kind of transitioned into this sort of workplace role. So Katie says, Raymond, go first. So Raymond, you have the honors here.
Okay, let's see. So my path on the educational front is definitely not the most conventional path by any means. I did graduate high school. I started college right off the bat. I actually started in music performance for a couple of years. And right before I got my AA, I decided, I don't know if I really want to do this. And I dropped out altogether. And I did a couple of years of just doing some random jobs. Then I decided, you know what, I probably should finish this. So I came back again. And this time I did it in business and accounting. And I finished AA and I started doing a little into FAU, and then I got into the automotive industry at that point. And I just could not juggle. I was actually starting in sales, could not juggle doing a sales schedule and coming to the to school. So I may have dropped out a second time on that one as well. But the good news is 7 years later, I returned again, and I actually completed my BA in business management. And it was during that time that I took QMB, I took ISM class for Excel, and I really, really loved analytics. I did not realize I had that passion. And I really wanted to do an MIS degree, but I was a little too late because they said after 90 credit hours, you can't change your major. So I completed my first degree, And I started my second bachelor's degree immediately after. This was actually starting in spring of 2020. So it was the last time we had the MISA sessions in person. And I loved it. I finished the entire degree. I graduated just several months ago. And once I finished that, in my company, I think I mentioned I was there for 8 years. I've had multiple roles over the years, but in sales and doing business to business sales, I was a BMW genius, and it's kind of like Geek Squad for BMWs at one point. And I found that once I was doing I was getting to the end of the MIS degree, I really wanted to get into that realm. So my company is a very large company, and the automotive side is just it's like 16%. It's like just one little piece of the overall size of the company. It's just one of the 6 businesses. So we have like 6,500 employees to give you an idea of the size. So I looked for analytics roles that would match. And I saw this analyst role for the CEC, which I'm part of, is the CEC group, Customer Engagement Center. And I did some interviewing with some of the people, went through 4 different rounds of interviews. It's quite a process. And because I had finished my degree, it helped tremendously. I can 100% say I would not have this role right now without the degree. And everything I learned as well. I mean, I'm sure some of you may be taking classes or see classes you may have to take that involve Tableau, SQL, programming, anything database related. That's what I do every day, all the time. So all of those helped tremendously. I could not have that without it. So that experience helped me get the role, and also the skills that I learned along the way helped. All these MISA sessions helped. After going to seeing so many different companies come by for info sessions, like Citrix and SBA and automation and everything, you kind of get a feel for what a lot of these companies are looking for when it comes down to an analyst role. And they all tend to say the same skills, hard skills and soft skills of, let's say, obviously be analytical and collaborate and do teamwork and just, you start to see it all line up. And all of those info sessions really helped me when I approached my own company about this analyst role, really helped me land on what they probably were looking for. And all of it is true. So all the things you hear in an info session of, oh, we really want people that are like this or have this skill and or this program, all of it lined up perfectly. And I would not have had any of that without MISA and looking at kind of getting insight into what these companies want. So MISA is a really good thing. I'm just throwing it out there. I know we're here right now, but really you will get a lot of value out of these sessions. And being around other people that are in the same line of, or at least the same industry, involving IT and analytics and even security, you get, it's really good, it's comforting. So you get kind of bounce ideas off of other students and other fellow MISA members. And when you go out and you try to see what opportunities are out there, it's really helpful to be around and have that support system. So all of that really gave me the confidence to try to change roles, because a lot of times, especially after being so many years in a particular role, it's hard to transition into a different industry, even within the same type of role. So all of that helped me with this, and I'm having a blast here. And like I said, I'll give Katie the floor here, because I'm sure there's probably plenty of questions about being analysts in general and what will be very helpful while you take these classes. So with that, I will pass it along to Katie.
That was really great, Raymond, really great. So for me, I would say I would describe my career or educational journey as kind of, or to the role now is kind of scrappy, but basically I got the MIS degree, and I originally came into FAU as a generalist, and I remember I was watching a lot of day in the life of just different career paths in general to kind of get a hold of what I like and what I don't like. And what I really liked about watching day in the life of a software engineer style is they were creating something and then helping solve a problem for someone else and made their lives more convenient in a small way or whatever. And I knew that I was not good at the technical stuff like that, and I'm not really good at math. So I scaled back, and I found that MIS was a really good marriage between the hard skills and also the soft and business skills and the entrepreneurial mindset that I had. And yeah, I really liked the MIS group because one, Professor Sweet is the best, and he'll if you have any questions, he'll lead you to where you need to go or where you need to, who you need to talk to get to where you're going. And like Raymond said, being surrounded with people who are also ambitious and want have the same interest as you is like really motivating and keeps you like focused. But as to how I got to like the UX UI designer role, funny story, I was like a college commuter, so I listened to podcasts a lot on the way home, and they were never like work related, but this one was just like randomly, like one of the girls said that she was a UX designer and I had no idea what that was. And as she kind of detailed about like, oh, like I help solve problems, I like design solutions for like software, blah, blah, blah. I was really like hooked on that. Then fast forward, I asked Dr. Sweet, what is a UX designer and how do I get to be one technically? And then he helped me network with an alumni of MISA and FAU. And that kind of like was the starting point of me realizing like, oh, wow, like people are really willing to like give me advice on like the ropes and telling what to do strategically to like make this process faster. Not that I was trying to speed it up, but it kind of just like happened that way, because if you have like a really good mentor, they just instill the confidence in you to like tackle things that you didn't think that you like could because you didn't believe in yourself. But basically the route to most UX UI designers, they like take a boot camp. You might have heard of Iron Hack or General Assembly. And I was still in school at the time that I learned about this. Like I had a year or 2 years left of my degree to complete. So I was doing my degree, but then on the side, and also conveniently, but not conveniently, COVID happened. So I had more free time than usual. And I would just like watch YouTube videos about like design stuff and like built up my Squarespace site on the side. And then I got 2 internships that were really helpful in like letting me just dive into the deep end with like a problem, using the software, working with people that you would work with in a real life setting. And yeah, and that's kind of like how I am here now. And yeah, I like to, I guess to leave off on a good note, I would say I would recommend like this career path for someone who is really good at like, I guess, stakeholder management, but kind of just like good at working in groups. So like, you know how to use people's strengths and like how to have that beautiful harmony between like all different personalities and strengths. And you are interested in improving processes, like you like the efficiency of things. So yeah, that's how I'll end it.
That was great, Katie. Thanks so much for that overview of your path.
Yeah.
So really cool to hear both of you, how you have 2 pretty much totally different stories, but you all are both in, careers that you're enjoying and that you like. And so just to show everybody kind of, this is just 2 little snapshots of, several students, hundreds of students that we have that are involved in MISA, and they're able to find what they're interested in and what career they want to be in, which is really the end goal of what we try to do as a club, to get all of you connected in terms of growing your network, but at the same time, creating a professional network with all of you. So that way you can be able to not only see the companies we have come in, see the jobs that are available, but also try to, experiment, try things out in terms of internships and such, and try to find that career path that's going to work best for you, because it's really, even though somebody does something, it may not be the best fit for you. So you got to try to find what's that thing that's going to be a good fit for you. And that's what with MISA. So really cool. So those are the only 2 questions I had as a whole. So what I'd like to do, we have about 20 minutes or so left for MISA. I want to go ahead and open it to the group for Q&A. So if you have any questions for either Raymond or for Katie, you can pop it in the chat. And if any of you here in person have any questions for either of them, you can let us know and I'll relay it over so that they can hear it in the mic.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
This is mainly for Raymond, but for both Raymond and I believe, is it Katie? I'm sorry.
It's good.
So for both of you guys, what sort of, because like for students, I think the hard part is when you apply for a job, they want this experience. You know what I mean? So like, how did you guys gain the experience as far as working with the applications that the employer wants you to have the skill in? Like, I think Raymond said Tableau and stuff like that. So is that something that was taught in the classes, or was that something that you just did outside of class on your own time?
So in my case, there is a class for Tableau that FAU has, and I think it's Introduction to Big Data, I think is the class that goes over it. So that introduced me to Tableau originally. And I mean, outside of that class, and when I had this job, or when I first received this job or got into this role, I didn't do a lot of Tableau in the interim. However, when I did have the class, I had a lot of fun. Actually, I was in the class with our president here, Jonathan, at one point too. And you learn a lot in the classroom setting. But when I saw that this role specifically also asked about Tableau, when I saw it in the job description, I made sure that I revisited Tableau. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I did a lot of practicing with it. I did my own thing. They have test data for a lot of these programs that are out there. They also, same thing with SQL. There's a SQL class that FAU teaches, and that was my introduction to SQL. And I kind of tinkered with it. I thought that was pretty cool. So that's something I did on my own time. But if you ever come in a situation where, let's say it wasn't Tableau, maybe they wanted to use Power BI, and there's no Power BI class that I know of at FAU. Maybe there is, but I didn't come across that. Then it's something that you start to just do it on your own. I mean, what's interesting is that there are a lot of large IT companies like Google and Facebook and Apple where they're looking more for skill than even, and not necessarily to put it on the side, but not even necessarily a degree. They're looking for just the skill itself. And learning that skill is something you can do on your own on your own time. And it's something that's highly recommended, especially in this field. And I'm sure Katie could say the same thing. Every program you use, you may not necessarily be formally trained in it, but it's something that you can learn on your own and at your own pace. And it's something that I highly recommend doing, just to sharpen the skills, because you're not going to learn every single thing here. Not going to learn every single thing, even on the job. They kind of expect you to. So kind of fill in the gap. You have to do your own research and your own work at it. So whether that's YouTube videos or there's free online classes. Boot camps as well, they're pretty good, but you're not going to know every skill every time. And honestly, Tableau is great, but 5 years from now, it may not be the primary program. Maybe it is Power BI. And 5 years from after that, it may not be Power BI. It may be something else that exists. And knowing why you're using those programs and what you're trying to achieve is more important than the actual program itself. But obviously, yes, you want to research the programs as much as possible if you know ahead of time what it's going to be, and really dig into it. Luckily, I love Tableau, and I know not everybody may say the same thing, but I really enjoy it. So it was easy for me to transition into using that.
Yeah, Tableau's cool. It's a lot easier on the eyes than Power BI, so.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And then for Katie as well, like when you got to your job in Atlanta, I remember you said something about you did your own thing on the side to prepare yourself, like Raymond. But when you got there, of course they trained you, but like what type of training did you receive from that company as a UX UI designer?
Yeah, I'm going to say for any job, it's really good to just reverse engineer on LinkedIn. And so with whatever requirements they have on the job listing, like if they say use XYZ software, note that down, read more to confirm that this is the software that this career role uses. And then, just get your hands dirty with those. And then as for, and then I'll answer your other question, how do you market or sell yourself when you're fresh out of college and to get that first job? Because honestly, getting the first job is the hardest in period. And I think that you have to exhibit skills of being confident in yourself, of one, you have to be able to say no, that you don't know something when you really don't, because they can kind of see right through that, and they would rather appreciate you being honest about not knowing this certain skill than to hire you and realize that you're just kind of catching up and kind of overwhelmed. But anyways, my training, honestly, it wasn't I'll say, because I didn't apply for a junior role, I just applied randomly because I was spam applying as one does. They were just sold by my confidence and what I had done in the past, that they didn't. And also I was the first junior, fresh grad in the team. So I think that they were not used to properly training somebody, but that's might be an anomaly. So yeah, I'm gonna yeah, that might be a scary answer, but yeah, having good people to ask questions with, like in your group, or like, maybe they're the same age as you, like in the company, like that would be helpful. And being also, I guess, telling your manager like, hey, like I don't know how to do this. Can you like kind of give me like a week, or like have me work alongside like a senior so I could get the hang of it. Yep, I hope that answers your question.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you.
And just to add, Katie, I don't know if you want to just mention a little bit more about that, because it was kind of an interesting story when I had talked to you before about how they didn't have that junior position that you were talking about. So you applied for the senior one, and they ended up liking you and then offering you this junior. Can you kind of talk about that? Because I think a lot of students, they'll look for a job and maybe they don't have enough of the experience, or they don't have other aspects of it. So kind of how did that process work for you, so that you can shed some insight for them?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, because I did want to mention that. So yeah, I think like everyone as like a new grad, and especially like statistically, even women, they tend to not apply for jobs that they don't match like all 10 of the requirements on. And I would highly encourage like you guys to not do that. And like maybe if you fit like 4 or 5, like go ahead and do it. Because like they're looking for people that are teachable and that learn fast. So like in me exhibiting like, well, the way that they interview like my type of profession is like you present a case study that you have done, and you just like go through like why you made decisions, and like so presentational skills like a very strong, I guess, like highlight in that whole experience. So if you like sell yourself well and like show that you are kind of like willing to learn as you go and like grow from your mistakes and not like dwell on it, I think that's good. But yeah, like I think what I wanted to highlight is just like they were looking for someone who had like 3+, and I had like 0 to 1+, and they called me back anyways, and I did the interview thing, and yeah, it worked out. And I think I later like asked my manager about that, and yeah, she just said that they weren't looking for like a junior, but just the fact that I exhibited skills that seemed like I would be like trainable to like not to even get to like the senior level, but just like to work alongside them as equals, and not like as like much of like a snail's pace, or like playing catch up all the time. That like worked out. So yep, that was that.
Thanks for that, Katie. So other questions, we got about 10 minutes left. So other questions for the group? Oh, you got one? Yeah, David, go ahead.
Do either of them plan on extending?
So do any of you have any plans on, I guess, extending either your education formally after the bachelor's, or additional certifications and other things that you plan to do now after you graduated to kind of move forward in your career, looking into the future?
I do not. Yeah, I do not. And I'll say because in my, like in the product like industry, like where I'm at, it doesn't seem like you need a master's to level up. It seems like you need to just like take more projects on, like show your value to how you have run these projects to level up. And that's what the promotions are based on, not necessarily like degrees that, yeah.
Anything for certifications at all? Do they have anything?
Yeah, for certifications, like that is definitely like, that will help you level up too. Those are more like niche and specific, targeted to your industry and role as well. So like that definitely gives you an edge.
So in my boat, I actually am continuing. Actually, I already applied for my master's degree. I submitted the application, and I'm shooting for the end of this year for the fall semester. So it really depends. When it comes down to education, it really depends on your career path and what you want to do. I mean, some may require it, some may not require it. It really depends on the company, and depends on what you want to do. For me personally, at least for the company of the size that I'm at, having a master's degree is something that would be necessary if I wanted to either be part of the management team, to manage an IT group altogether, or it's something if I wanted to become a data scientist, then they would prefer and really want to see a master's degree for both of those roles. It may not necessarily be the same in every company. But that is generally what I've seen, and even from some of the competitors. So it really just depends on what you're trying to accomplish overall and what your career goal is. But I will say, long term, I'm kind of on the older end maybe of the average age of most of the students here. But what I've noticed is that even 10 years ago, when I probably should have been doing this, very few people were really getting into masters. And nowadays, a lot of people go straight into the masters after the bachelor's. And you think maybe like 15 to 20 years out from now, you're going to have a lot more of a competitive field where a lot of your peers are going to have master's degrees and you may not, because a lot of them started it at this age or long ago. So I look at it from that perspective of it might just be helpful, but it's not something that you necessarily need per se, but it's something you should highly consider. But I am going for it overall.
Carissa asked, Raymond, are you doing your master's at FAU?
Oh, absolutely. The chance to still be a part of MISA. Oh yeah. And just an FYI, I was actually the vice president of MISA when I was doing my MIS degree. So I have a lot of love for MISA as a whole.
So we got just, a couple minutes left. Any other questions either for Raymond or Katie? You can either type in the chat, you can pop on your mic, or if anybody here has any other ones for them. Which masters are you going for, Raymond? That's what's being asked.
Business analytics, primarily, because I really want to have the chance to be a data scientist. That would be phenomenal. Never thought you could actually be a scientist. I've always thought when I was a kid, being a scientist meant you had to be in something like, I don't know why, but like chemical related or biology field, but apparently you could do it for data. So that's pretty cool. I can just wear a lab coat every day.
Oh yeah, question.
Yeah, this is for Katie.
So on the user side, this is for you, Katie, from the class here. So on the user side, how has sort of that understanding that you have, and maybe just familiarity with sort of that software design process, how has that evolved now that you're kind of in your role and you're kind of looking at it from that user experience, user design lens? How has that kind of changed on how you view kind of that software development, software design process?
Like, because I'm behind the scenes.
I guess. Is that
Yeah.
right?
So she's talking to develop.
So she's saying like you're talking to developers, so you're having to bring these things that you're seeing as issues and then talking to them like how either they can fix it, you can fix it, or kind of a combination of both. So maybe just talk a little bit about how does that process
How does that work? Yes. So like how the dance goes is the product manager comes to me with like a problem and with like very abstract, like one sentence requirements of like how to solve it. Cause like the best practice is like, you don't want a product manager to prescribe you solutions because they're essentially like doing your job, which is like not ideal. So then you get that preliminary stuff, you do your research, you like do your whole like focus time doing that. And then when my designs are like at a place where it's not like, crystal clear, like what it should look like on the app, but it's like in pencil and it's kind of like black and white, then I go to the developer in like a team format and tell them, show them, present to them. And then what will happen is it's called a refinement, and they help put some color on it into the, like, in terms of like, oh, well, this can work and this cannot work. Oh, today this exists like this, the structure is this like this, thus we can't do it like this. So then I know what to delete and what to like, what's feasible pretty much. And then that just happens again. And maybe like a third time too, depending on like how like complicated it is. And that happens again until we like reach the finish line. Yeah.
That's why I think, as you said, that collaboration component of your job is very important, because you're having to go back and forth so much on that. I like how you said the dance, as you said, that was a good kind of way to put it. So
yeah.
Awesome. That's a good question. So other questions we had going in the chat. So Raymond, besides going for your master's, are you getting any certifications as well?
As of right now, I am not. I'm primarily focused on just the masters and gaining even more experience. And also, I just want to throw something out to a point that Katie made a little while ago. As far as applying to jobs, if you do see that they want experience, it's like 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and you're just coming out of college and finishing your degree, you really shouldn't be afraid to apply to it. You'd be surprised that a lot of companies, they're looking for fresh blood, people that don't bring in necessarily bad habits, or the people that look like they're moldable, that they can build, and they'll find a role for you. And they may even make a role. And I've actually seen that many times so over the years too. And you just shouldn't be afraid to do that. And also one other thing, don't be so stuck on just specifically getting maybe a data job or an analytics job or an IT job necessarily, because actually a larger reason why I got this role as well is domain knowledge. And if you're not familiar, domain knowledge is understanding a particular industry and having a lot of experience in that. And I work with some brilliant data scientists, even on my team, and they know how to crunch numbers and do some amazing things, but they don't know the retail side of the business, which the numbers are for. So I bring a different perspective to the table because I do know exactly how a dealership is run. And it's something that you can do in almost any role. So if you do see a role that's maybe part of the same company, that's not necessarily what you wanted. So you wanted to do an analyst role and you see an operations role that's maybe an operations assistant or something along those lines, you can build experience and use that and bring that to a different role down the road. So don't be too thrown off altogether. There are many paths to get to where you want to go in life. But yeah, I'm focusing just on the masters, no certificates at the moment.
Yeah, so what we're saying here, sometimes that, yeah, not always needing all the experience, and even as David was talking here in the session, they're looking for people that are moldable, that they can work with, that they can, that go along with the company culture and sort of the ethics and the, really just the focus of where the company is going. And if they feel like you are a good fit, oftentimes they're looking more for the fit. Obviously, for some roles, you have to have the experience or the tools or the knowledge. But for the most part, that's where, like Katie said, for the internships, it's a great way to get your foot in the door so that people can see your abilities and your skills and real attitude and your work ethic. And oftentimes, those are the things that they're looking for versus knowing everything XYZ that they're looking for, because they know anybody that's coming in, they're going to have to train them and show them on certain things. So the things that they can't train is if you have a bad attitude and you're easy to work with, like they can't untrain those out of you sometimes. So oftentimes that's kind of how that works. So awesome. That's good addition to that one. Pretty much here right at the time. So just for the sake of time, especially for our speakers and those that are going to class, we're going to go ahead and end it here. So let me go ahead and just stop the recording.